Hello everyone, I'm Kim Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. The President of Israel visited the Vatican this week. Meeting Pope Francis, the two leaders discussed peace talks between Israel and Palestine, as well as issues between the Vatican and Israel. Rome Reports has more on the meeting.
Pope Francis met with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin at the Vatican, where the two discussed a host of issues related to the Middle East. English, Spanish, Italian, and Hebrew were all spoken during the meeting. Despite some confusing moments, everyone was all smiles. After the initial formalities were over, the two sat together and discussed world affairs. According to the Vatican, both men agreed on the importance of interreligious dialogue and the need for Israelis and Palestinians to restart peace negotiations. They also spoke about the plight of Christians and other minority groups in the Middle East. Issues between the Vatican and Israel were discussed as well, such as the situation with Christian schools in Israel. After their meeting, they exchanged gifts. Pope Francis gave Rivlin a St. Martin medallion, along with copies of Laudato Si and Evangelii Gaudium. Rivlin gave him a stone with historical importance. During their farewell, Pope Francis made a common request to the president's wife. While saying farewell, a smiling Rivlin invited Pope Francis to visit Israel. It was Rivlin's first time in Rome since becoming president last year. He also met Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, and he plans to visit the Italian president and leaders of Italy's Jewish community.
In news now from around the world, Cardinal Vincent Nichols of Westminster says that the British people are crying out for a more generous response to the migrant crisis engulfing Europe. Cardinal Nichols spoke to ITV News September 2nd. He said that the shocking images of bodies washed up on beaches in the Mediterranean, including one of a drowned Syrian boy, are revealing the human face of this suffering. The British government has refused to accept migrants fleeing wars and dire poverty at a time when they are risking their lives to enter Western Europe. However, British Prime Minister David Cameron has recently indicated that the UK would be willing to take in thousands more refugees. Details of the plan for that are still being worked out at this time. More news now from around the world. 150 million workers in India went on a nationwide strike that shut down factories, banks, traffic, and government offices across the country on September 2nd. Bishop Oswald Lewis, head of the Indian Bishops' Labor Office, said the Catholic Church is in solidarity with the striking workers because the Church is concerned about their welfare. The workers' demands range from an enforcement of basic labor laws and universal Social Security coverage for workers to measures to contain rising prices and unemployment. A national network of 10 leading trade unions organized the 24-hour strike after 2 rounds of talks with the federal government had failed to elicit a favorable response to the workers' demands. More news now from the Vatican. Pope Francis continued his talks in the family during his weekly general audience on Wednesday. He spoke about just how powerful the family can be. Rome Reports has more from St. Peter's Square.
The Pope's weekly general audience was held outdoors in St. Peter's Square. The Pope made a few rounds in the Pope-mobile to greet and bless the crowds before starting his catechesis. Following the theme of the family, the Pope talked about why it's so important for families to pass on the faith, not just within their family unit, but also in society.
Non perdiamo la speranza. Dove c'è una famiglia con amore, e quella famiglia è capace di riscaldare il cuore di tutta una città con la sua testimonianza d'amore.
For there is no better source to learn about God and love than in the family, said the Pope. He added that it's not just a matter of abstract theological terms, but rather something that's seen in everyday life.
Tanti divertimenti, tante cose per perdere il tempo e far ridere, ma l'amore manca. È proprio la famiglia. È proprio la famiglia. Quel papà, quella mamma che lavorano con i figli, il sorriso di cui una famiglia è capace di vincere questa desertificazione delle nostre città. E questa è la vittoria dell'amore della famiglia.
And finally, in the news, a 225-foot tall, hand-painted billboard of Pope Francis will welcome the pontiff to New York City September 24th through the 26th. The welcoming message is located at the corner of 8th Avenue and 34th Street near Madison Square Garden, where the Pope will celebrate Mass September 25th for an estimated 20,000 people. The mural, which showcases a photo of Pope Francis waving to a crowd, has been attracting a lot of attention from passerbys, tourists, and workers in the area. Surprisingly, raising awareness about the papal visit might still be needed. A recent survey from the Public Religion Research Institute found that only 47% of respondents overall knew the Pope was visiting the U.S., while 69% of Catholic respondents had heard the Pope is coming. The mural is expected to be seen by 700,000 people each week and will remain in place throughout September. And that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Elson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.